Well, man, this thing is real goofy and crazy. Ryan Clark is in serious trouble, and he in so much trouble that First Take may be on the verge of being taken down because they could have a big lawsuit because of some of the things that Ryan Clark said in regards to the Kyren Lacy's case. Right? He's had to come out and apologize for the things that he say because the powers that be is telling him, "Hey, yo, stick to football, man. Stop running your mouth talking about the things over here." So now let's look at let's look at what he actually said, right? Because I agree with what he said, but let's look at what he said and why he had to come out and apologize. Check this out.
Yes, please. Yes. I beg your pardon. I did want to clear space for this.
1 second, please.
This is important.
Yes, guys, Kyren Lacy was supposed to be in the NFL. Kyren Lacy was accused of something and being investigated for something that he didn't do, and he died having to live with the guilt and the consequences of a guilty man knowing he was innocent. It recently was discovered that he was 72 yards away from the crash, that police and state policemen tried to coerce and doctor and use ways to manipulate statements that put this young man behind bars. They changed his joy, they changed his life, and eventually he took his own life. This was supposed to be a career, but at least he was supposed to be here. At some point throughout his career, I would expect to have said his name. So I'm going to say his name tonight.
Amen.
Kyren Lacy was innocent. Kyren Lacy should be here with us. Nothing will ever repair or replace the pain that his parents have to feel and his loved ones have to feel. But we could say his name. There were so many stations that ran the fact that he was being investigated. So I wanted to make sure here with Scott, we could say that he was an innocent man and at least know that he has that as he rests.
You and I talked about this earlier tonight, and I'll just share with them what I share with you. I can't recall ever seeing something that made me react viscerally to the point that I felt like my hands were trembling to think that there's video that shows that this is not at all what happened. And that young man took his life. And so I will not say any more. It's your thoughts here. I just wanted to echo.
Thank you very much.
No, and my apologies for forgetting that because this is a more important thing than what we're talking about tonight. Ryan Clark, I appreciate you always.
As a former athlete, Ryan Clark said these things and he was upset, right? Because there was a narrative that was painted about Kyren Lacy that ultimately led to his unaliving himself, right? But then the lawyer has come out with some different things to counteract what was being said, right? So now everybody around the country is speaking to this and making videos and going in. So Ryan Clark, he took to ESPN on the air and said some things because of what the lawyer did.
Yeah, so what you'll see is in the top left of the screen, you're going to see multiple cars just making their way south to Thibodeau, coming from Battery. At some point in time, you're going to see the collision, which we're going to know is vehicle number 2 from oncoming traffic colliding with the vehicle of Mr. Hall. You will see another vehicle come to stop, and then you'll see Kyren Lacy come to stop.
So as we've seen the video, it looks like the impact happens, and then Kyren Lacy is behind him. How far away was he from there?
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of the investigative report that I now have my hands on. We know from data that Kyren Lacy did, in fact, pass 4 cars. There's no disputing that. Further north, Kyren Lacy passed 4 cars. However, he was back in his lane of travel, 92.3 yards. Back in his lane, behind Mr. Hall. At the time of impact, he's 72.6 yards behind the vehicles at the time of impact. Keyword, behind the vehicles. That is not how this story was ever painted. Never.
So we saw video footage. We saw a different type of video footage put out at separate from what the state police, and all those things put out. Now we know we also had audio and video of the alleged officer allegedly trying to coerce the people to make different statements as opposed to what happened. So Ryan Clark, he's in even more trouble because on his show, The Pivot, he tripled down by saying some things that has a lot of people upset. Now, as more of this come out, right, more of this thing will be uncovered. But I can't really be mad at Ryan because nobody was mad at the other people when it first happened, how they was accusing Mr. Lacy, right? So let's look at what Ryan Clark said on the Pivot.
It was already sad and tragic when I thought he died under the weight of handling the guilt that he unknowingly played a part in someone losing their lives. It's even more tragic that I know he died as an innocent man who knew he was innocent, but was dealing with the consequences of someone guilty of what he had been accused of. And let's be clear, Kyren Lacy is innocent, but on December 17th, 2 people lost their lives. Obviously, Herman Hall and condolences and prayers to his family, because this man fought in 2 Vietnam wars, and the very thing he fought for, right, which was the rights and the privileges and the due diligence of the courts as it pertains to American citizens, didn't even happen in his death. They didn't even honor him that way. It was true lies. It was true railroading. It was true framing. It was Tyler Werner, the state police, who was coaching witnesses into telling them or into saying that it was Kyren's car involved in the crash. All he saw was a young black man, right? He didn't see Kenny, and he didn't see Candace's son. He didn't see a brother. He didn't see a teammate. He didn't see a boyfriend. He didn't see somebody who truly was a part of the community. So they stole his joy, they stole his career, and eventually they took his life. And so now it's about what happens to give his family justice.
So that's Ryan Clark really tripling down on the situation. And he even called out the police officer that was involved that we saw in that video, telling the people what to say. Right? We had messages on Facebook, messages of witnesses calling out the woman that they said that lied. Right? We had all this kind of stuff. So Ryan Clark is doubling down, because mind you, he's a former athlete, and he's saying basically this was all you saw was a black boy, right? That you alleging did these things, and he was just ultimately just guilty. But now Ryan Clark is having to come out and apologize, and this is where I get to the point where I say black people have no power. Somebody behind the scenes, they came to him and read him the riot act, and now he has to come out and eat crow and apologize for the things that he says. And this is why, for me, I don't like this black power, pro-black B1 stuff no more like I used to. I'm always foundational black American. I'm always B1 pro-black. But I don't like this online and yelling that stuff, because it shows no power. And when the young people hear us say that, but it's no power behind it, it makes it look bad. It makes them don't want to be a part of nothing that we got going on. They don't want to be affiliated or associated with us. It is what it is, because the black people that's in position of power, y'all are spineless and weak. And you doing our young people coming up behind you a disservice. So now when you see a black man like this stand up for his people, and then he got to come out and apologize, I don't blame the young kids on the block running wild. I blame you cowards in suits that's supposed to be powerful. You are spineless sellouts. And the young people shouldn't listen to nothing, and have no respect for none of y'all, because you are nothing like our grandparents' generation. Nothing. You are cowards for the fact that he would have to come out here and do this on national TV. Because he has nobody to protect him or stand in front of him to tell the powers that be no. After everything that we've been through in this country. Man, you people, man. And now I understand, and it's sad, and I wouldn't do it, but I understand why we got coons and sellouts amongst our camp. Because they get tired, so you know what they do? They just surrender to W supremacy. And it's messed up. It's because they shouldn't, but they just surrender. They know the things that they're saying about their community is wrong. They know they shouldn't be over there with them people. But they don't see no hope when it comes to us. But let's look at his apology.
Yeah. So I've never really had much trouble expressing anything. This has been more difficult because I know that people are hurting, right? 2 lives have been lost. Herman Hall, a man who spent his life in service of other, and Kyren Lacy. He's just a young man who I wish I could tell how much he had to live for. My heart absolutely breaks for both of them, their families, and their loved ones. On Monday night's Sports Center, I addressed the horrific car crash that took Mr. Hall's life, and also the subsequent tragic events that led to the death of Kyren Lacy. In full transparency, y'all, I knew Kyren Lacy personally, but nothing matters to me more than the truth. I always strive to do my best to mix authenticity with the most complete and up-to-date information available. I failed to do that on Monday night based on the subsequent evidence that has been released by the Louisiana State Police Department. I set the highest standards of fairness and, most importantly, righteousness in my work. I didn't meet that standard. But since I've spoken to Kyren's representation at length, and I've also reached out to a representative at the state police office just to have a conversation. They informed me this morning that because it's ongoing litigation, they actually can't divulge anything else. It's always important to me that I gather all factual and important information to provide the complete story. That's a responsibility that I do not take lightly. And when discussed in real time on Monday evening, I failed to do so. And for that,
I apologize.
Late last week, the attorney for former LSU football player Kyren Lacy released a video challenging the version of events Louisiana State Police used to cite Lacy in a December auto accident which claimed the life of 78-year-old Herman Hall. On Tuesday, state police released a video and records defending their initial findings that alleged Lacy's operation of the vehicle created a chain of events that resulted in the crash that claimed Hall's life. Lacy's car is seen moving at a high rate of speed in the wrong lane just prior to the incident. Lacy faced several charges, including felony negligent homicide, but died by suicide days before a grand jury was set to convene, meaning his guilt or innocence will not be tried in a criminal court. The one certainty here is that this was a senseless tragedy in December, and it's magnified by a second life lost in April. I apologize for the incomplete reaction that aired on this show on Monday night.
So I say this, be careful when you're putting stuff out because you're not going to have nobody there to help you or back you. A lot of people are going to, champion you when you running your mouth and you talking. But when the enemy or the system starts to punch back and push back, people are going to say, man, you crazy for saying that. They're not going to have your back, man. So you got to be careful when you're putting this stuff out. Ryan Clark, he spoke with his heart. He spoke with passion. He spoke with, because he understands as a black man how things work in this country and how we're perceived, right? So he jumped out the jet and he spoke. And he said nothing wrong. I have no problem with what he said. But this is the thing. And I want you young black people that's watching me, that's listening, listen to me. When you get out there and you start speaking and people start to gather around you, you're going to start seeing a lot of black folks that was with you. They're going to start fading away because they're not willing to lose their lifestyle for what's right. Most black people don't care nothing about their children and grandchildren's future. All they care about is the right now and what they got going on right now. They're not willing to sacrifice anything to make things better. We are not like our grandparents and great-grandparents' generation when they knew that you seen them marching, right, knew that it was possible they could be hung and killed and churches blown up with babies unalived, everything. We're not willing to sacrifice things to get the things that we need. So be careful when you're out and you call yourself a leader amongst the group to speak. Because when it comes down time for people to have your back, most people are not going to have your back. I'm just keeping it all the way 100. We are not like our grandparents, man. We're not. They're not going to have your back. And a lot of us learned that the hard way. So I'm not saying that you can't love your people. I'm not saying that you can't fight for your people. But just understand what you up against and what can happen when you decide to stand up and do certain things. Because a lot of your people ain't going to back you. So, man, shout out to Ryan Clark for taking a stand and standing up, man. It's a shame that he had to come out and apologize and embarrass and stuff like that before the world. But this is all part of being black in America and loving your people. So I'm going to cut this video short here. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.